the behavior I cited, if true, do you think that this behavior of intoxication, going into these type of establishments, women on your staff being so uncomfortable that they have to file these sort of harassment claims, do you think this is appropriate behavior for a leader?
Senator, the overwhelming majority of anyone who's worked for me, including the on-the-record statements that have been submitted to this with their name on it, on the record, men and women who worked with me every day, are the overwhelming preponderance of evidence that testify to my leadership and professionalism in leading Vets for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America. Okay. My leadership has been completely impugned on these veterans organizations that did fantastic work.
Mr. Hegseth, I'm not even going to go into the accusations.
And we managed our financial books with integrity across the board. How many people, everybody who runs the campaign?
I have limited time. I'm not going to get into the accusations that come from Fox News. I know you have some of your Fox News colleagues here. There were multiple instances of accusations against you about drinking on the job.
All anonymous, all false, all refuted by my colleagues who I worked with for 10 years at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and everything.
The challenge here for me, Mr. Hegseth,
only seen me be professional
is when there is discussion about personal challenges and you admittedly had issues with heavy drinking. It's hard to kind of square this. To square the circle here, it's kind of a difficult thing to do. Let me ask you, if I have about 90 seconds left here, if you had to answer these questions about sexual assault against you and your drinking and your personal conduct, would it have been different if you were under oath?
Senator, all I'm pointing out is the false claims against me.
Okay, I take it you do not want to answer that question. I walked into this hearing this morning concerned that you haven't demonstrated adequate leadership in your civilian roles. And this is a dangerous world we're living in here. And America cannot afford a Secretary of Defense who is unprepared for that mission. I'm going to leave with concerns about your transparency. You say you've had personal issues in your past, yet when asked about those very issues, you blame an anonymous smear campaign, even when many of these claims are not anonymous. Which is it? Have you overcome personal issues, or are you the target of a smear campaign? It can't be both.
That was the exact second the facade crumbled. Throughout the hearing, Pete Hegseth deflected every brutal question with the same rehearsed 2 words. But when Senator Kelly dropped the ultimate test, asking if those answers would remain identical under oath, the playbook slammed shut. No spin, no script, just a deafening silence. I've covered enough of these hearings to know exactly what that silence screams. The truth is far more dangerous than the allegations. A man terrified by the prospect of an oath has absolutely no business commanding the American military. If the gravity of this moment gave you chills like it did me, hit like and drop your thoughts in the comments.
Open book. Yet you haven't actually said what personal challenges it is that you've overcome when you've been asked about them. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here to be as forthright as you say you want to be. So while leading Concerned Veterans of America, there were very specific cases cited by individuals about your conduct. I'm going to go through a few of them, and I just want you to tell me if these are true or false. Very simple. On Memorial Day 2014, at a CVA event in Virginia, you needed to be carried out of the event for being intoxicated.
Senator, anonymous smears.
Just true or false? Very simple. Summer of 2014 in Cleveland, drunk in public with the CVA team.
Anonymous smears.
I'm just asking for true or false questions. True or false answers. An event in North Carolina, drunk in front of 3 young female staff members after you had instituted a no alcohol policy and then reversed it. True or false?
Anonymous smears.
Let's look at how this so-called open book actually reads. 3 separate incidents across 3 different cities, met with 3 direct questions and dodged with the exact same 2-word shield every single time. Anonymous smears. No detailed denials, no added context, just a hollow slogan repeated on a loop. Hegseth had already confessed to his struggles with heavy drinking, even drawing praise from his introducer for overcoming them. Yet, the very second Kelly pressed for specifics, every single allegation was instantly dismissed as a smear. Watch the pattern carefully because it never changes. This isn't candor. This is a programmed autopilot defense mechanism designed to dodge the truth.
While in Louisiana on official business for CVA, did you take your staff, including young female staff members, to a strip club?
Absolutely not. Anonymous smears.
So, is it accurate that the organization reached a financial settlement with a female staffer who claimed to be at a strip club with you, and there was a colleague who attempted to sexually assault her? Was there a financial settlement?
Senator, I was not involved in that. I don't know the nature of how that played out.
But you understand there was a financial settlement for a young female staffer who accused another member of the organization, not you, of sexual assault in a strip club.
We have multiple statements on the record referring to that.
But you claim you were not there when that occurred.
Absolutely not.
Then the questions escalated, and the rehearsed script finally shattered. Abandoning the anonymous smears shield, he offered a flat, absolutely not. But when Kelly pressed him on a financial payout to a female staffer alleging sexual assault, his defense crumbled into something even weaker. I was not involved. I don't know how that played out. The man running the organization suddenly had amnesia about a major settlement involving his own employee. This is the exact leadership style now sitting at the apex of the Department of Defense. When the heat rises, accountability vanishes, pivoting from deflection to denial to weaponized ignorance. But this cowardice didn't stay in the hearing room. That same reckless instinct resurfaced when lives were actually on the line. In March 2025, ahead of a U.S. strike on Houthi targets in Yemen, Secretary Hegseth casually leaked highly classified operational details, launch times, aircraft types, and expected time on target over the commercial app signal. That catastrophic breach went out 2 to 4 hours before American pilots even left the ground.
Remember that these messages were revealed after Atlantic reporter Jeffrey Goldberg was accidentally added to this Signal group chat. And some of these messages are so specific, one of them even saying from Hegseth, quote, "This is the exact time the bombs will drop." So the Inspector General has been investigating Hegseth's use of Signal for several months now, since April. And we're now finding that he came to the same conclusion that many of the critics, current and former U.S. officials did at the time, that Hegseth should not have been using Signal to communicate this sensitive information to other Trump officials, and that the potential consequences of that could have been dire. The IG also concluded, too, that there was no documentation, as far as they could find, that Hegseth made a choice to declassify this information before sending it to the Signal group chat. Now, that's important because we know that the information itself was from a document that was marked classified at the time.
The Pentagon's own Inspector General would later confirm what was already glaringly obvious. This reckless behavior created a very real, very lethal risk to United States personnel and their mission. We are talking about an unapproved, unsecured commercial channel being used to transmit highly sensitive timing data. There was no encrypted system, no safeguards, just a staggering disregard for operational security. But this was not an isolated mistake. It was the inevitable climax of a pattern. The exact same culture of minimized accountability that we witnessed under the bright lights of a Senate confirmation hearing had seamlessly migrated from political theater straight into the actual kill chain. That continuity is the only thing that truly matters here. The hearing did not merely expose a man who was profoundly uncomfortable with hard questions. It laid bare a deeply ingrained operating style, a worldview that treats ultimate responsibility as a purely optional inconvenience the very second pressure arrives. And when that specific brand of leadership is handed command of the United States military, the consequences immediately stop being theoretical. They become life and death. The real story here is not found in the individual scandals. It is found in the phrase itself, anonymous smears. Hegseth reached for those two words like a trained reflex, a desperate safety cord pulled every time the room got hot. Whenever the questions bypassed the rhetoric and turned concrete, that exact same shield was raised. But we must understand that this phrase is not a defense. It is a weaponized tool. It is surgically designed to dissolve accountability. It is a rhetorical trick that turns named on-the-record witnesses into formless ghosts. It turns sworn statements into mere background noise that can be casually waved away with a dismissive hand. He walked into that committee room openly claiming the noble credit of a man who had confronted and overcome serious personal demons and heavy drinking. The very person who introduced him paraded that narrative of redemption. Yet, the absolute moment Senator Kelly demanded the specifics of the actual events, every single one of those events was instantly reclassified as an anonymous smear. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot claim to have overcome struggles that you insist never actually occurred. You cannot sell the public on a heartwarming story of redemption while aggressively denying the very material that required redeeming in the first place. That is not personal growth. That is strategic amnesia. It is the calculated posture of a man who desperately needs his past to remain blurry so that his present can appear clean. And when that hollow phrase finally stopped working, when the terrifying prospect of speaking under oath eliminated his last remaining exit, the only move he had left was a dead, empty silence. His script had a hard limit, and that limit is the clearest, most undeniable evidence we will ever have of how this man operates when the pressure is real. Senator Kelly was not conducting a character assassination. He was running a high-stakes pressure test. As a former combat pilot and an astronaut, Kelly understands a fundamental human truth that most career politicians never have to learn. Under genuine, crushing stress, people do not rise to the level of their beautifully prepared statements. They fall to the level of their defaults. What the world watched in that room was Hegseth's default. When the doors locked, the exits closed, and the room went dead quiet. His very first instinct was deflection. His second instinct was outright denial. His third was to claim absolute ignorance regarding catastrophic decisions made inside the very organization he himself led. That sequence is not a coincidence. It is a carefully constructed hierarchy of avoidance, ranked perfectly from the least politically costly to the most damningly revealing. Now, take that exact hierarchy of avoidance and place it directly inside the office of the Secretary of Defense. This is the office that decides exactly when American forces are committed to combat. It decides what crucial intelligence remains classified. It decides whether the fundamental laws of armed conflict are treated as binding, sacred constraints, or merely as optional suggestions to be ignored at will. Those monumental decisions do not arrive with the luxury of friendly interviewers or a public relations team given time to refine the language. They arrive exactly the way Kelly's questions arrived, direct, on the record, and utterly without an exit. A man whose hardwired instinct under scrutiny is to shrink every answer until absolutely nothing remains has already shown the world exactly how he will handle the crises that actually matter. Senator Kelly saw this pattern with crystal clarity. The only remaining question was whether the rest of the committee was brave enough to see it too. Make no mistake, this hearing was not a failure of information. Every single Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee sat in that room. They heard the exact same questions. They witnessed the exact same evasive pattern of answers. They heard the chilling refusal to confirm whether those answers would remain the same under the penalty of perjury. They watched Kelly draw a line in the sand that could not be straddled. None of this was a surprise. The drinking allegations were already public. The financial settlement regarding the strip club was already public. Kelly did not ambush anyone with secret evidence. He simply forced existing, known evidence onto the official record under direct pressure, effectively stripping away every comfortable political exit. Yet, they confirmed him anyway on a strict, unyielding party line vote. That vote is the part of this tragedy that usually gets the least attention, simply because the hearing provided the explosive drama while the confirmation was pushed through quietly. But that vote is what actually authored the outcome. Those senators were not uninformed. They were not tricked. They simply made a conscious, calculated decision that the glaring red flags raised in an open session would not be allowed to matter. Everything that followed was terrifyingly consistent with the temperament we had just watched unravel. Military lawyers who dared to provide inconvenient counsel were summarily removed. Press photographers who captured unflattering realities were restricted and silenced. Highly classified operational intelligence was casually tossed around on an unsecured commercial messaging app. And now, according to multiple mounting reports, Grave questions are being raised about the blatant disregard for the laws of armed conflict in the ongoing, escalating war with Iran. None of these disastrous actions should have surprised a single soul. They are simply the institutional expression of the exact same instinct we saw on full display during the hearing. When the pressure arrives, accountability shrinks into nothingness. Senator Kelly stated the standard without any political decoration. In a profoundly dangerous world, America simply cannot afford a Secretary of Defense who is fundamentally unprepared for the mission. The Senate heard that blaring warning siren, looked it dead in the eye, and actively chose to turn it off. The country is now forced to live inside the fallout of that choice. The so-called open book was never actually the issue. The true catastrophe was the decision to slam it shut, ignore the blank pages, and blindly proceed anyway.